On this short video, I want to discuss a little bit the pronunciation of the vowel we call Tzere, usually pronounced as A or E. And before I go on, let me say a few words about the different pronunciations of the Jewish people. It's known that in various languages, when people live, for instance, in different countries, the differences in vowel pronunciation usually develop more than consonant pronunciation. And also, sometimes over time, people begin to speak differently in terms of the vowel pronunciation. Of course, British English and American English, the main differences are in vowel pronunciation. Right? A lot of times when the British say O sound, we in America say A sound. And there are other differences. The U is sometimes pronounced differently, and the A, the O. I mean, easy examples would be in English, in British English, they don't say I can't do it. I say I can't do it. Of course, within Great Britain, there are also different pronunciations between the Scottish people in the north and most of the rest of Great Britain. But anyway, similarly, we know over the time there are differences that develop. For instance, in English language, met versus meet. So something similar happened in various other countries. I'm from the former Soviet Union, for instance. In Russia, what we call today Russia, in parts of Russia, they pronounce the sound that we usually pronounce as A, they pronounce as clear O sound. In Volga region, they usually say O very clearly, as opposed to in Moscow and St. Petersburg, there they pronounce a sound that's closer to A. And in the Caucasus, in certain areas, they pronounce a very clear A. But in Moscow, the pronunciation is somewhere in the middle, closer to A than to O for a lot of sounds. So these are just examples where the differences in vowels developed. And it's not surprising that in Judaism, especially when Jews lived in different countries, the differences in vowels were much greater than differences in consonants. There are some small differences in consonant pronunciation too between different groups. And I once discussed at some point some of these ideas, and particularly the union of dagesh and the various pronunciations of certain letters that with dagesh and without dagesh are pronounced differently. But today I want to talk about vowels. So one of the very well-known differences between Sephardim, the Jews from the originally a lot of them are from Spain, but many of them also lived in the Eastern communities, in the Middle East, in the Arab countries. So the pronunciation of all of these people that we call Sephardim and Edot HaMizrach, they pronounce the vowel Tzere. Tzere is two dots under the letter in parallel, in horizontal position. So they pronounce it as clear E, without Y sound, without the Yud kind of sound, just E. For instance, even if the Yud, by the way, is actually written in the word, if there is a Tzere and the Yud, they still pronounce it as E. For example, the word B'nei, they don't pronounce B'nei, they pronounce B'nei. There is no Y sound after Tzere. The Y sound is pronounced after certain other vowels. If it's a A, for instance, a vowel like patach, then if there is a Yud afterwards, you'd pronounce Ay. But if there is no Yud after Tzere, it's simply not pronounced. Just like a Yud after I, after Chirik. On the other hand, Ashkenazim and even modern Hebrew, if there is a Yud, pronounce Tzere as A. For instance, B'ney Yisrael. The Yud is clearly pronounced after B'nei. On the other hand, there is a difference between modern Hebrew and the standard Litvish, what we call Lithuanian pronunciation of Ashkenazic Hebrew. And that is that Ashkenazim always pronounce Tzere as A. It doesn't matter if Yud exists or not, even if there is no Yud. Anytime there is a vowel Tzere, they pronounce it as A. In modern Hebrew, however, only if Yud is there, they pronounce the Yud. If the Yud is not there, they pronounce it just like Sephardim. And there are certain groups from Romania and Hungary and other places that actually pronounce Tzere even more differently. They pronounce it more like I sound, not like A sound. And when it's a sigol, 3 dots under the letter, that one they pronounce as A. Very interesting. They pronounce sigol like the Litvish pronounce the Tzere, and then pronounce the Tzere like letter I in English. Something like B'ney Yisrael. So the point of this little video is my own proof. Probably somebody else found it already. It's very hard to find something that's completely new and nobody thought about it before, but I found it at least independently. I can testify that I did not read it anywhere. So maybe it's my own proof, maybe it already existed before me. And it's a proof that the correct pronunciation, at least in times of Chazal, was exactly like Sephardim, meaning when Yud is there, still it's not pronounced if the Tzere is the vowel. The Tzere is never pronounced as A, it's only pronounced as E. What's the big proof? The Talmud tells us when we read the Shema, we have to make sure every letter is clearly pronounced. And in particular, when a certain word ends with a specific letter, and the next word starts with the same letter, we have to make a small pause, a tiny pause, just so that the letters don't kind of come together into one sound. Lebevech, לבבכם. There's a few of these lamets that come together. There's 4 places in the entire Shema, actually, when 2 lamets are together. The last letter of the previous word is lamed, and the first letter of the next word is also lamed. There's altogether, the Talmud lists 8 places in the entire 3 paragraphs of Shema. There are altogether 8 places like that, when the last letter of the word is the same as the first letter of the next word. And guess what? B'ney Yisrael is not one of them. It lists every other case except B'ney Yisrael. According to Sephardi pronunciation, it all makes sense because they don't pronounce B'nei, they pronounce B'nei, B'nei Yisrael. So even though the Yud is written, since it's not pronounced, there's no reason to make a pause there. However, according to Ashkenazi pronunciation, and indeed the Ashkenazi Sidurim, like ArtScroll, do put a vertical ba there to indicate that you have to make a small pause, so that the Yud in the end of B'nei will not be connected, will not sound together with the Yud of Yisrael. So clearly, since Chazal don't list this as one of the cases, they list all the other cases, all the 8 cases where the letter is the same in the end of the word and the beginning of the next word. The only case they don't list is this one, B'nei Yisrael. So that proves to you that B'nei Yisrael was pronounced like Sephardim, that the Yud is not pronounced in the word B'nei. And if you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.